Hi, I'm Mark Goldman, and as you can see, I love working in the shop, and I imagine you do too. I've been doing this for a lot of years, and I enjoy it more and more, and over the years I've collected some machinery. What I've discovered is the machinery generates an awful lot of dust and debris, and it's important to really take care of that in a very special way. One is you want to keep a clean shop, because the dirtier it is, the harder it is to do your work, and the more difficulty you're going to have in finding tools and keeping your equipment in good shape. The other more important reason is for health. There's so much dust generated by these machines. Simply an operation such as sanding, or in this case planing, generates an awful lot of dust. You can have dust collectors that'll collect most of the larger particles, but there's so many particles in the air we don't even see. All you have to do is touch a surface after a day or so and you'll see all of this dust showing up. Well, we're breathing all of that dust. So a dust collector is extremely important. There are several types available, and there are many companies that make them. Today we're going to look at one in particular that has a HEPA filter on it. HEPA filter is really important, and most filtering systems are using this today, and the better machines are doing it. DustFX is one of them. I want to show you that. So I've ordered a 2 horsepower cyclonic dust collector from Canadian Woodworker, in my case in Winnipeg, and it arrived this morning. So why did I choose the DustFX Cyclone dust collector? First and foremost, after having done the research, I wanted something with a HEPA filter. Secondly, I have a lot of machinery here. I needed something with drawing power. 2 horsepower seemed to me to be the right number. Thirdly, that 2 horsepower coupled with a drawing power of 1500 CFM should be ideal. And lastly, and also important, I wanted something that was quiet. This should do the trick. So we're going to assemble it, and we'll see how easy or how difficult it is to do. So we've unpacked everything from the box, and we have all the parts here on the table so we can see them very clearly. They all seem to be very well made, and the instruction manual is pretty clear. We've found a couple of things which I think are very good. There's the port, the dust port here has a cap on it, which I didn't see prior to ordering the machine. I think that's going to be very useful. The only thing I can say so far, before getting too far into the process, is the first page of the instruction manual tells you to put these rings together with the upright supports, but it doesn't indicate if the support should be on the inside or the outside of the ring, so you've got to do a little experimenting with that. And we'll keep going and keep you posted. We're putting the base together now, according to the instructions, and what I see so far is it's a really very well made base, very solid metal, and what's particularly good is the casters line up perfectly with the holes in the base. All I have to do is put the casters down, line them up, and put in these supplied nuts and tighten them up with a wrench that came with the unit. We're putting the support legs now onto the base, and they go on quite easily, and the holes line up perfectly just like the wheels did for the base. The one thing you should try to remember is the holes on the middle part of the support legs, which will take a brace going into the base, should be facing the same direction. It's not mentioned particularly in the assembly instructions, although if you look at the photograph or you look at the drawing, you'll see it. But make sure they're lined up or you're going to end up doing this twice. So we've assembled the base and the base support struts that are down here, and we're now about to put the Cyclone motor unit on top of the base. It's, I think, very important to note that this is very movable, so we've put down a couple of pieces of wood to chock the wheels so it won't move. And this is quite a heavy unit. It does take 2 of us, so Derek and I are going to put that on now. Okay?
Yep. You in as well?
Yep. All right. Okay, after having put in the support at the bottom to hold the HEPA filter, we've now put the HEPA filter where it's supposed to go, and I've screwed the bottom support on first to give us a little better leverage, and then we can line it up with this bracket that's right here and put our screws in to secure it. We're getting there. Day 7. It's about a half hour later. We've got the filter attached to the unit, and we've got the hose connecting the Cyclone unit to the filter. This took a little bit of doing. The fit is very, very tight, and you have to be careful not to rip this hose and then put the clamps on to secure it. So now I'm going to put on the handle that goes on the paddle that will stir the filter and keep the dust from staying to the filter and keep it efficient. We've assembled the machine now. It probably took us about 3 hours, I would say. We have one other little thing left to do, which is to put the basket inside here that will hold the plastic bag. The only area where we had a bit of a difficulty was with these clamps and putting this hose on the various fittings. The rest of it came together quite well. These clamps over here to hold the barrel underneath are really very good and work very well. And once it's closed, you can actually move the whole unit as one piece without having to worry about different things floating around unnecessarily. So far so good. We've put the plastic bag here on the HEPA filter and everything else is connected. All we have left to do is to hook it up to the power and give it a test drive. Well, now that the dust collector is fully assembled, let's take a look at it beginning with the top. I've opted for the 2 horsepower model, which has a 2 horsepower totally enclosed fan-cooled motor. It's really very good to have this kind of motor because you'll have very low maintenance on it and it can run for hours. And there's a reason for that, because sometimes you may want to run your dust collector long after you've left the shop, really to clean the air, and that'll do the job. When you come down a little bit, the control box is here. It's a magnetic safety switch that actually has 3 positions. There's an on switch, there's an off switch, and there's a locked position as well. And what I like about this one, compared to a lot of other ones that I've seen, is it has reset buttons on it that are right here in the control box. I have a planer where I have to go and take the whole casing off the planer to get to the reset button if the planer is overloaded for some reason. This is the Cyclone right here. This is the cyclonic action that creates the separation between the dust, the lighter particles, and the heavier particles which will fall down. It has a 14.5-inch impeller, and it's pretty well balanced because when you turn the machine off, it takes 10 or 15 seconds to cycle down. So you can hear the weight of that impeller and the balance it has. There's not any vibration that is generated by that impeller turning. So let's look at some other parts of the machine. The principle of having a dust collector in a shop is to keep a safe and healthy environment. All of the machinery we use, planers, jointers, saws, sanders, generate an enormous amount of dust and debris. All of that is collected by the dust collector at the other end. The cyclonic action separates the heavier particles from the lighter particles. The heavier particles drop down into the collection drum, and the remainder comes through here, the filter. This is really the essential part of this machine. It's a HEPA filter. HEPA is an acronym for High Efficiency Particulate Absorption. It's a terrific filter, and it has to meet very strict standards in order to qualify as a HEPA filter. This HEPA filter will remove 99.97% of the particles that pass through it, the size of 0.3 microns or larger. That's very efficient. One of the really innovative features about this HEPA filter is it has a paddle that circles around inside the filter and cleans it, just like this. That knocks all the dust off the filter and it drops down here into this bag where it collects. And it's very easy to remove. You just undo this clamp and the bag comes straight off. To operate this DustFX collector, the cyclonic action spins the air and the debris around. The lighter particles, the dust, will go through the filter and fall into the collection bag below. The heavier particles will fall down through this funnel and end up in this collection barrel down below. This is 28 gallons, so it'll hold quite a bit before you have to empty it. Now, one of the things I like about this, it's a very smart idea, is it's got a little window, little transparent window here, and you will be able to see the debris, the chips collecting here, so you'll know when to empty it. That's a smart idea. So what do you do when you look at the barrel collecting the chips and you see that it's full? You have to empty it. Now, there are a lot of other machines that I've worked with where you have to unscrew a clamp and put little pieces together. This is a very smart idea. There are 2 levers, one on either side of the barrel. I just lift them up and the barrel slips right out like that. When you empty the drum, this wire basket is very important. It's there to hold the bag from being sucked up into the cyclonic machine. When it's empty, slide it right back in, underneath, pull the 2 levers down, and it's sealed again, ready to go. We've put the machine together, we've looked at it carefully, I've described it in detail. let's see how it works. I'm going to plane this piece of oak. I get all my lumber from a local mill and it's in rough form and I have to mill it. I'm going to plane this and we'll see exactly how well the dust collector works. My oak has been nicely planed, and let's just see how much debris is left inside this machine. If we take this off, look inside there, I don't see any. That's a vast improvement over my single stage dust collector that I've been using for years. Let's just look at some of the things that we've discovered with it. It's got a totally enclosed fan-cooled motor on top. The wiring for the motor is easily accessible. The control box for the motor is right here in the front, and it's got all of these buttons that are easily accessible. The reset buttons, the start, the stop, the safety feature on this magnetic switch. It's got a very powerful impeller inside. The cyclonic action is very good because this impeller is so well balanced. It takes quite a while for it to come down to a complete standstill from a running position. Also, the Cyclone action seems to be very good because all of my debris is falling into the drum at the bottom as it's supposed to. And I have to say, I really like these clamps here because if I want to remove this drum and empty it after I see it's full by looking through that little window, I just lift these clamps up like that and pull the barrel out. I like that. The other thing that I like about it is the filter, which is a HEPA filter. These are about the best you can get. You cannot go wrong with this kind of a filter, and one of the innovative things about the DustFX is it actually has a filter cleaner like that, so that when it gets coated with dust, the paddle goes around and knocks all the dust off the pleats, which go into the dust bag below. There's one more thing I think that's really good. It also comes with a remote control. Now, I like this remote control because it only has 4 buttons: on, off, and a timer switch, plus or minus. The only thing I would have liked about the remote control was to have had some kind of a little compartment here where I could put it, because I don't like separating it from the machine. It might get mixed up with something else. That's easily solved with a little bit of Velcro. So after having used this DustFX Cyclone dust collector for the better part of a day on my planer, my jointer, my table saw, and a sander, I have to say it meets all the criteria I had set for myself at the beginning. I wanted something that had some power. 2 horsepower does the job. I certainly wanted something with a HEPA filter. I've got that, and there's no dust in the shop. I wanted something that had drawing power, 1500 CFM. This does the trick. And really, I wanted something that wasn't too noisy. It's quiet. For a 2 horsepower dust collector, this is quiet. Am I happy? You betcha.